the chains they planned for us. The sky over Earth tore open at 4:12 Universal Time, coordinated. It began as a glimmer above the stratosphere, an unnatural ripple that spread like a fracture across the morning blue. Then the ripple widened, groaning with pressure, until it burst into a ring of white fire. Through it descended shadows, miles long, angular, cold, descending in perfect predatory formation. Hundreds of starships. No one had ever seen anything like them. Not in classified military archives, not in deep space telemetry, not in any speculative science forum. Humanity watched from cities, from rural fields, from crowded subways, from quiet bedrooms as the ships eclipsed the sun. The Galactic Empire had arrived, and it did not come in peace. Satellite feeds cut out within minutes. Global communications jittered, cracked, then collapsed as an unknown signal blanketed the ionosphere. Banks went offline. Air traffic grounded itself in confusion. Power grids trembled under surges that made no engineering sense. Then the message came. It didn't matter if you were a child watching a cartoon, a doctor in the middle of surgery, or a soldier stationed in the Arctic Circle. The broadcast interrupted everything, synchronizing across every device, every screen, every radio wavelength. A tall, silver-skinned being appeared on the world's displays. Thin features, oversized obsidian eyes, a uniform of black metal plates. Humans. The voice was not spoken so much as imposed, translated flawlessly into every language. You stand at the threshold of destiny. Kneel, and you will be preserved as productive labor stock. Resist, and your species will suffer eradication. The transmission ended. For 5 seconds, the world held its breath. Then the first drop pods fell. They tore through the clouds like meteor showers, thousands of burning cylinders slamming into streets, parks, rooftops, highways. From each pod emerged Imperial shock troopers, towering alloy-skinned bipeds with luminous visors, carrying weapons that fired condensed gravity pulses strong enough to collapse cars. New York, Mumbai, Lagos, Rio, Cairo, Manila, Paris. Cities erupted into chaos. But the Empire's strategists, arrogant and calculating, had made their first and greatest mistake. They assumed humans would break. They assumed panic would become paralysis. They assumed humanity was soft. Instead, Earth fought back. In Brooklyn, a police precinct barricaded itself with overturned buses and used shoulder-fired missiles against dropwalkers. In Sao Paulo, a street gang hijacked a light rail train, mounted it with explosives, and rammed it into an Imperial command node. In Mumbai, civilian drone enthusiasts weaponized their quadcopters with improvised charges and swarmed enemy squads until their armor cracked. Humanity was not technologically superior, but humans were furious, unyielding, and terrifyingly creative. The Empire didn't expect resistance. They expected capitulation. The invasion timetable faltered within the first hour. By the 6th hour, it collapsed. Across the globe, a miracle of unity formed. Governments that had once been rivals connected through surviving hardened military networks, banding together under a single emergency directive, the Terran Unified Defense Command. They had no choice. Survival depended on coordination. General Isaac Vargo watched the battlefield from a makeshift war room deep beneath Colorado. A live feed flickered on the wall. Imperial troops corralling civilians in Havana's Central Plaza. Children wept. Adults were forced onto their knees. Metal collars snapped around human necks with a hollow clink that echoed across the feed. Vargo's jaw tightened. "What are they doing?" asked a young lieutenant, horrified. Vargo didn't blink. "Sorting," he said. "They're sorting us." And they were. The Empire divided the population into compliance groups, labor grades, and biological potential strata. Some were led towards ships. Others were stunned and dragged away. A few who resisted were executed with cold efficiency, while drones recorded everything for Imperial documentation. Then the worst moment of the day played across every screen on Earth. An Imperial officer, tall and skeletal, addressed the captured crowd in Havana. "Humans, you misunderstand. We did not conquer out of malice. We conquer because order demands it. You will serve. It is better this way. Behind him, a civilian man tried to stand. A trooper clubbed him to the ground. A child screamed, and a shock collar crackled. The broadcast cut only when a local Cuban militia launched a desperate counterstrike, costing them their lives but allowing dozens of civilians to flee. But the damage, the emotional, global, unifying damage, had already been done. That footage spread across the networks like wildfire. Even disconnected regions received copies smuggled by hand, by drone, by underground fiber lines. Humanity saw chains. Humanity saw collars. Humanity saw families treated as livestock. And in that moment, something ancient and primal awakened across the species. A shared resolve, a universal fury. Never again. Never again would another power decide ownership over human life. Earth had been pushed to the precipice, and the response was immediate. That night, the world leaders convened in the battered remains of the UN chamber. The decision was unanimous. No debates, no vetoes. Admiral Nadia Rowan stood before the flickering assembly. "They tried to enslave us," she said, voice steady despite the devastation outside. "They believe humanity is a resource. They think our spirit can be broken. They think domination is inevitable law." She leaned forward. "They are wrong." A hush fell, electrified with purpose. Rowan spoke the words that would define the future of every living human. Earth will not defend itself alone. We will strike. We will hunt. We will answer their attempt at enslavement with retribution so absolute they will never rise again. Outside, Imperial carriers began to retreat to orbit, regrouping for a full-scale conquest attempt. They expected Earth to cower. Instead, humanity sharpened its knives. Humanity prepared for war. Humanity prepared to wipe out civilizations, if that's what it took to stay free. And the galaxy would soon learn one truth. No one chains a human. Not anymore. Not ever. Mobilizing the species that refuses to kneel. Earth did not sleep after the invasion. It roared awake. Across every continent, sirens wailed through the night as governments activated protocols thought to be theoretical, scenarios designed for extinction-level threats. Factories that once built cargo trucks swapped their assembly lines for railgun barrels. Orbital construction yards, once peaceful hubs for satellite deployment, became skeletal forges burning with welding arcs visible from the ground. Humanity had one directive now: build the sword that would strike back. 1. Earth transforms overnight. In the United North Atlantic Complex, Dr. Lynn Qureshi stared at the shimmering hologram of a captured Imperial communication crystal. The Empire used quantum-entangled wave relays more advanced than anything humans had conceived. And yet, within hours, Lynn and her team had cracked the first layer of its structure. She rubbed her eyes, exhaustion dripping through her thoughts. "They jammed our entire planet with 7 networks," she said. "We'll copy all 7, and we'll break theirs." Her assistant hesitated. "You're suggesting reverse engineering their FDL relay?" "Not suggesting," Lynn said. "Doing it." On another continent, deep within the Euro-Siberian defense ring, Admiral Nadia Rowan studied schematics of the new fleet. The hangar floor beneath her buzzed with motion. Engineers, soldiers, welders, AI drones, all moving in synchronized urgency. A technician approached. "Admiral, the first prototype is ready." Rowan stepped onto the elevated platform, staring at the ship suspended by magnetic clamps. Sleek, angular, armored in layered composites forged from alien alloys harvested from captured pods. The name burned across its hull. TNS Retribution. The first human interstellar warship. Her voice was soft but lethal. "This is how we end them." 2. The unity no one thought possible. The Terran Unified Defense Command expanded faster than any alliance in history. Old enemies forged sudden alliances. Nations that spent decades in diplomatic gridlock now shared data streams, military hardware, and command intel without hesitation. There were no borders. No rivalries, no political debates. There was only humanity and the threat that had tried to enslave it. Ground forces trained alongside rival nations they once distrusted. Air Force pilots exchanged jet technology. Navy admirals coordinated under shared orbital command. Even civilian hackers formed authorized digital strike teams under government oversight. The Empire had assumed humans were divided. They had created unity instead. 3. Project Retribution begins. Rowan stood before hundreds of engineers inside Earth's largest orbital dock. "We don't have years," she told them. "We barely have weeks. We reverse engineer everything we can from their wrecks. Every shard of armor, every capacitor, every trace of propulsion matrix." Her command voice sharpened. "We will build ships that don't just match them. We will build ships that make them afraid." The Empire's drop pods had left behind more than destruction. They'd left behind components, alloys, fragments of technology humans had no hope of creating themselves. But humans didn't need to create it. They needed to understand it. And they did. At breakneck speed, humanity developed. Hybrid FTL drives welded from alien cores and human ingenuity. Plasma dispersal armor plating. Engine designs that bent gravity instead of fighting it. Beam weaponry scaled far beyond the Empire's expectations. The scramble to build a fleet consumed every factory, every fabrication center, every orbital platform. But humans were not building a fleet for defense. They were building a fleet for retaliation. 4. The first human heroes take their positions. General Isaac Vargo arrived at Fort Jericho, the underground command center built into a hollowed mountain. The Havana massacre haunted him. Every night, he saw the collars, the kneeling civilians, the arrogance in the Empire officer's voice. He vowed never to let such a thing happen again. When a young officer saluted nervously, Vargo returned it with steady authority. "Status of ground forces? 50 new armored divisions assembled, sir. Exosuits and rail rifles ready for deployment." "Make it 80, Vargo said. "We're going into their territory." In the Pacific Orbital Ring, Admiral Reyes stood overlooking the War Council. Generals, scientists, diplomats, cyber specialists, they all waited for her command. She raised her hand. "Humanity isn't here to defend Earth anymore. The Empire took that choice away. We are here to end the threat at its source." No one doubted her. Dr. Lin joined via HoloLink. "I've deciphered how their quantum communication works. We can intercept their commands, jam their fleets, and mimic their signals." Rowan nodded with dangerous satisfaction. "Good. Let's see how the Empire likes being blind." 5. The first counterstrike. The Retribution fleet launched at dawn. Billions watched from Earth as the fleet rose through the clouds like an iron storm. Thousands of ships, from stealth corvettes to dreadnoughts whose cores glowed with human-alien hybrid energy. The Empire expected humanity to cower on its own soil. Humanity instead tore open the void and entered enemy space. Their first target was a forward Imperial outpost in the Galactic system. Admiral Reyes stood on the command bridge. "Engage FTL." Space folded. When it unfolded, the Empire's outpost, 3 moons, a station, and a defense fleet, hung before them. Rowan gave a single order: strike. The first battle between humanity and the Empire lasted 6 minutes. Human ships swarmed in unpredictable attack patterns, something no Imperial algorithm had been trained to handle. Terran Marines crashed onto the logistics moon, capturing it in brutal close-quarters combat. A stolen Imperial gravity cannon turned against its creators, shattering their defense ring. One moon after another fell. When the dust cleared, the Retribution fleet stood victorious. Humanity had not just survived. Humanity had struck back. 6. What humanity discovered. Interrogations of captured Empire officers brought revelations that chilled even hardened soldiers. Enslaved species. Genetic modification programs. Species classified as livestock grade. Populations forcibly relocated. Earth was meant to be just another chain in the Empire's vast system of domination. But those plans were ash. Rowan absorbed the reports with cold fury. "They think domination is natural law," she said. "Then we'll break their laws." Vargo spoke next. voice resonant with conviction. No more empires. Not in our galaxy. Not while humans breathe. Humanity had crossed the line from defense to vengeance. And the stars would soon remember that humans, once united, were not prey. They were the storm coming for their oppressors. Retribution in the stars. The Galatian system burned behind them. Where once the Empire's forward command had stood, cold, arrogant, unquestioned, now only drifting metal and fractured moons remained. Humanity had delivered its first strike, and the galaxy was watching. Admiral Reyes stood at the helm of the TNS Retribution as the fleet emerged from FDL into the next star system. The bridge lights reflected off her expression, calm, sharp, unyielding. "We freed 8,000 prisoners from Galatian," her tactical officer reported. Their statements confirm everything our intel suspected. The Empire's entire economy runs on forced labor. Rowan nodded slowly. "Then we liberate their worlds, one by one." She turned toward the holographic star map. The Imperial territory, glowing red like a festering wound spreading across a quarter of the galaxy. Retribution would begin here. 1. The Empire's worlds fall in flames. The first target was Vorth Prime, an industrial world where enslaved insectoid workers mined Starforge dust under radiation storms. The Empire expected the prisoners to be too weak to resist. They didn't expect humans. Terran shock troops descended through the atmosphere in coordinated formations, landing with kinetic precision. Exosuits slammed on factory roofs. Tanks deployed from orbital dropships. Infantry moved through toxic storms with respirators sealed tight. On the ground, General Vargo led the charge. "Cut their shackles," he ordered. "Every last one." Human Marines disabled containment fields and broke open fortified labor pits. When the insectoid prisoners, the Vreth, looked up at their liberators, their mandibles trembled in disbelief. "You fight the Empire?" one asked through translator. Vargo's voice carried the weight of a species wronged. "We destroy them." Word spread. Hope ignited. In less than a day, Vorth Prime was free. And for the first time in their enslaved existence, the Vreth swore allegiance, not out of fear, but gratitude to humanity. 2. A galaxy takes notice. Humanity continued its assault, striking the Empire's slave-processing world of Arkshan and its bioforged satellite Y-11. Everywhere they landed, they found atrocities. Species forced to work until their bodies failed. Children sorted into utility groups. Civilizations erased and replaced by Imperial doctrine. Human soldiers, hardened by war, but not by cruelty, were shaken, then enraged. "What kind of monsters do this?" a Marine whispered as they carried out survivors. Rowan answered without hesitation. "The kind that desperately need to be defeated." Humanity became something new in the galaxy. A force of righteous destruction. A beacon of liberation. A storm that tore the Empire's chains apart. 3. The Empire strikes back. News of humanity's victories reached the Imperial throne system. The Emperor, a towering telepathic warlord, saw the reports with growing fury. "Primitive mammals," he snarled. "They were meant to be cattle." He unleashed weapons reserved only for extinction-level threats. Ancient dreadnoughts, world-burner cannons, and the Psychic Legion, telepathic shock troops capable of breaking a being's mind with a whisper. The retaliation began at the Oryx Rift, an unstable star cluster where the Empire set a trap. As the Retribution fleet emerged from FDL, alarms screamed across the bridge. Massive gravitational distortion, multiple dreadnought signatures. Rowan steadied herself. Battle stations. The rift erupted with enemy fire. Imperial dreadnoughts, hulking constructs of obsidian armor, launched gravity lances that tore through space itself. Telepathic waves slammed into Terran neural shields, shattering several before countermeasures fully engaged. Rows of human pilots screamed as psychic shocks hit them like mental earthquakes. Rowan gripped the railing. "Hold the line. Engage quantum dampeners." The fleet responded with ferocious precision. Human corvettes weaved through the rift's gravity wells, luring dreadnought fire into collapsing pockets. Dreadnought-class destroyers unleashed rail barges powerful enough to ignite star matter. Vreth-allied fighters swarmed the Legion carriers, their stinger-like ships darting unpredictably. But the Empire's trap tightened. "Admiral," a systems officer cried, "they're pushing us toward the Rift's core. If we cross that threshold—" "I know." For a moment, death loomed. Then Rowan made the impossible call. Slingshot maneuver. All ships, Firestar plasma, charges into the rift. When it destabilizes, ride the shockwave out. The bridge gasped. It was suicide. Rowan's voice cut through doubt like a blade. "Execute. Now." The charges detonated. The rift convulsed. Space itself bent into a collapsing vortex. The Retribution fleet hurled forward, engines screaming as they caught the collapsing wave like surfers on a dying star. The vortex imploded behind them, swallowing the Empire's dreadnoughts in a catastrophic implosion. Silence filled the bridge. Then cheering. Humanity had survived the greatest ambush the Empire had ever deployed, and the Empire had lost nearly half its elite navy. 4. The Alliance of the Freed. Across newly liberated worlds, a painful truth spread. The Empire was not invincible. One by one, freed species approached humanity. The crystalline Hazhari, shimmering beings of fractal light. The Aarmon, aquatic refugees drifting in anti-grav chambers. The Vreth, insectoid warriors reborn with purpose. They gathered before Admiral Rowan, their voices resonating through translators. "You freed our worlds," the Hazhari said. "You fight with the fury of stars. Let us stand with you." Rowan bowed her head. "Stand with us, and together we end the Empire." And so the Liberation Alliance was born. 5. The Empire's final sin. When human scouts discovered the Emperor's last superweapon, even seasoned soldiers felt cold dread. A planet-sized machine, a genetic overrider, designed to turn entire species into obedient biological drones. Earth had been targeted first. Rowan's jaw tightened. "There's no returning from this. This war ends at their capital." Vargo nodded. "Then we take the fight to the heart of the beast." Humanity and its allies prepared the largest fleet ever assembled. 12,000 ships, 7 species united. One mission, and the Empire forever. They jumped to FTL. Ahead lay the capital system. Ahead lay the final war. The reckoning of civilizations. The battle for the Solaris core should have shattered the Galactic Empire's will. Instead, it only stripped away its illusions. For centuries, the Empire believed itself invincible, ordained by cosmic destiny to rule over lesser species. Even as Earth's retribution consumed world after world, even as Imperial fleets were carved into drifting graveyards of scorched alloy, whispers still lingered among their leadership. Humans will stop. Humans will negotiate. Humans are like all others. We can break them. That illusion died today. The Imperial High Council had been evacuated to the throne world, Varkos Prime, a world the Empire considered unassailable, a world that humans were never meant to reach. Layer upon layer of planetary shields, orbital cannons, fortress moons, and automated defense grids spiraled around it. For 10,000 years, no enemy had so much as entered its outer system. Now its sky turned white. Admiral Reyes stood at the bridge viewport of the HNS Caliban, watching the storm of light ripple across the void. Tens of thousands of human ships emerged in synchronized folds of space-time, their arrival humming like the universe inhaling before a final blow. The Retribution Protocol had consumed her fleet, transformed it, evolved it. Earth's navy was no longer a mere military force. It was a cosmic hammer, forged by necessity and sharpened by the Empire's cruelty. "Admiral," said Commander Nyla Cho, voice steady despite the enormity of what lay before them, confirming visual. "All Imperial systems are online and locked on us." Reyes nodded. "Let them aim." The Empire fired first. From every orbital structure, every fortress moon, every battle station, torrents of plasma, antimatter, graviton lances, and weaponry forbidden by ancient laws poured into the void. A storm that should have erased fleets. The Caliban didn't flinch. Retribution Protocol's quantum shielding absorbed the destruction, converting it into power. The more the Empire fired, the stronger humanity's armada became. For the first time, Imperial commanders realized what they were facing. Nyla exhaled. "Their weapons are feeding us, Admiral." "I know," Reyes whispered. "They thought humanity would kneel. Now they'll watch their own fury turn against them." Transmission requests flooded in from the Empire. Pleas for ceasefire, offers of reparations, threats, promises, desperation dripping through every coded signal. Reyes muted them all. "They never listened when we begged for our people," she said softly. "Why should we listen now?" The human fleet advanced. The first wave targeted the orbital rings, sprawling structures the Empire believed eternal. Human kinetic spears, traveling at a fraction of light speed, punched through them as easily as breath through fog. Each strike birthed expanding halos of fire and molten debris. Fortress moons attempted evasive burns, but space warped around the Caliban's fleet, dragging them back into firing range. "Orbital defenses collapsing," reported a technician. "They're trying to reroute the remaining moons into suicide trajectories." Reyes shook her head. "Disable their engines." No escape. Seconds later, the fortress moons, each the size of continents, went dark, drifting helplessly as human gravity nets pinned them in place. Now, nothing shielded Varkos Prime. Below, the planet gleamed like a jewel of arrogance. Towers stretched kilometers high. Oceans shimmered with nanite-laced waters. The Imperial citadel pulsed at the world's heart, a monument to centuries of conquest. "Admiral," Nyla said quietly, weapons locked on the surface. Reyes raised her hand and hesitated. Retribution had been necessary, unavoidable. The Empire had enslaved, tortured, annihilated billions across the galaxy. Humanity's vengeance had become the trembling fear in every Imperial whisper. Yet standing before the homeworld of their oppressors, Reyes felt the weight of a question no weapon could answer. When does justice become destruction? And when does destruction become something worse? But then she remembered the 2 billion humans who had been slated for chains. The mass graves discovered on Imperial frontier worlds. The holovids of Earth's ambassadors murdered live on broadcast. The screams. The broken families. The cold arrogance of an empire that believed humanity was property. Retribution wasn't cruelty. It was balance. "Fire," she said. The human fleet obeyed. Not with a world-killing beam. Not with a sun-cracking torpedo. Reyes had chosen something precise, surgical. The Retribution lances struck the planet's ruling structures, the military grid, the command hubs, the slave markets, the citadel. Every symbol of Imperial domination burned. Cities around them trembled, but civilians were spared. Their empire was ending, but humanity refused to become a monster to match it. Hours later, the High Council was captured. Broadcasts echoed across the galaxy as Reyes stood before trillions of liberated beings. "The Galactic Empire is no more," she declared. "Your chains are broken, not because we sought conquest, but because they sought to enslave us. Remember this: humanity does not bow, and we do not let tyranny stand." Around her, fleets of freed species, once crushed under Imperial rule, cheered. The galaxy was changing, not through domination, but through shared survival. When the Caliban turned away from the burning remains of Varkos Prime, Reyes let her shoulders relax. Retribution had ended. What came next would be something the galaxy had never known. Hope.